This reminds me of a dream by Jack Small. I mean, I think some of you know Jack Small. He's one of the characters in the Baba world. But uh, he went to India in the early 70s, and he was the assistant to uh, Adi at first, and then he was Bao's assistant. But he told Adi, don't treat me with kid gloves. Just treat me just the way Baba treated you people. And so he got battered around. And also, he was such a personality that, um, people kind of badgered him, just he was a little controversial. And anyway, so the thing is that, and then after Adi, he helped with Bao Kalchuri, and he would get hammered by Bao. And so when I would go over there every year, we would compare notes, from the center, and I'd kind of give him my experience over here, and he'd tell him, "Oh, Jeff, I've got this and that, this is happening and that's happening." And he lived there in the trust compound for a lot of the time, or worked there. So finally, after about 23 years, I go there in India, and Jack says, "Jeff, I thought I could make it. Thought I could tough it out, but I got to go back to the West. I can't, I can't handle it. I thought I could." And then about 3 days later, he had this dream when I was still there in India, and he told me this dream. Because people, he got scapegoated, not only by the Mandali, but all the Westerners too. And he like, some of it he deserved, and some of it he just was an ideal target. So anyway, he tells me he has this dream, and in this dream, on the stage, he's in the audience with all these people, and on the stage, there are all the characters in his life, but from his early times, from the Mandali, the Westerners, and I mean, it's like they're all of the people that have been giving him a rough time. And so he's watching this thing with rapt attention, and it comes to the first end of the first act, and the actors all come forward, and they bend their heads, and they take off their masks, and everybody has Baba's face. And Baba looks out at him in the audience and says, "How do you like the play so far?" Pretty graphic, but I mean, that's kind of what it's all about, really. So I thought that's Jack Small's dream.
Oh, it's a dream.
Yeah, that's the dream that he had. But yeah, they just all removed their masks, and everybody had Baba's face, and looked right at us, singled him out in the audience. So
Did he still leave India after that?
he did. Yeah. Yeah.
Baba's everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, he did quite fine over here because he was, he could handle almost anything there. And so the world is not quite as, you don't quite get as bashed around, But I do have something, but not right away, but I have something. I found Eric usually didn't tell us what the experience of the Mandali was like. There are little hints here and there, but there's one passage I found where you get a little bit of I had never heard him mention anything like this, and I hadn't read it, this particular thing, but I think you might find it interesting. But anybody have anything that came up, or anything to share? Or Lanita, haven't been doing anything all day. You got something to.
Yes,
I do.
Who does? good.
Marta and Diane and Terry.
Good. What you got?
Go, Diane, I'll go after you.
Ladies first.
Okay, Jeff, I wanted you to give me some clarity again about what would love do, and how one chooses what would love do over good and bad decisions. I'm not clear. I don't understand the path from making a decision to be good or positive and putting that aside and choosing love. I don't understand. I need some clarity around that. Could you do that, please?
Yeah, the different, yeah, I mean, just to kind of put it in context, as I mentioned earlier on effort and grace, good reflects love, but it's not the source of love. Like the moon is not the source of its own light. If you want to try to find out where the source of light is, if you go to the moon, you won't find it. You have to look at the sun. The same way with love. Love reflects off of our heart, and it reflects off of our mind and everything. But if you look in the mind or you look in the heart, you won't find the love. I mean, you have to look beyond the heart to find where love comes from. Now, there's one quote that I like from the French novelist Victor Hugo. You might have had to read Les Miserables in high school. Anyway, he said, "Virtue, as also in the case of vice, is a calculated action. But love is not calculated. It wells up in the heart and expresses itself spontaneously." So Baba says about love is it's expressed in the spontaneity of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
But they look very much alike. I mean, I would say my first probably 10 or 15 trips to India Baba had me over a microscope trying to tell the difference between good and love. They are so close. But good comes from our sanskaras, and love doesn't have any sanskaras. I mean, it doesn't have its origin in the sanskaras. It comes from the other dimension into us.
Is it a choice, Jeff? Is it a choice that I make, or is it just something that comes from like the unconscious or something? Or is it like I get to a point and do I make a decision?
Hey, Cameron.
Really?
That's Cameron. That's where love is. That's love. That's love embodied right there. You know, it just comes in.
You mean I have to have children? Oh God.
No, you have to be, you become childlike, you know. But let me see if I can, here's how I know, I mentioned this earlier. Here's how I know whether I'm acting from good or I'm acting from love. If I act from good, then I look at other people who are bad, and I see them as bad. I mean, I've done something good, and then I see these other people, they're not doing that. Whereas if love comes into me, I'm very generous about how I feel about other people. I'm very tolerant because I'm privileged to experience love. It doesn't have an opposite. You know, good has the opposite of bad. It's very critical. I mean, I think it's one of the fundamental things that Baba has brought to the forefront. The importance of making the distinction between love and good. I mean, he says, bad are iron chains, good is good or golden chains, and love is very liberating. but let me just see if I can, and I can, and other people can chime in too. But good has a little bit of a deliberateness to it. It's calculated. You have to think a little bit before you do something good. Whereas love kind of eclipses you. Like you might think, oh, it'd be good if well, say suppose you get this spontaneous whim to hold a birthday party for somebody. If it comes from love, everything just kind of comes out of that. You know what I mean? And you contact the people, you get the cake, and you have a lot of fun doing it. If you do it out of good, it's a little bit more work. You know, it requires a little more effort. If it's love, I mean, I'm finding if it's love, it's an effortless effort. But good is a little bit, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with good. Good is all right, but love is better. You know,
So if you have a sense of responsibility, that's a choice then to be good, correct? Because your mind is already making the decision. I'm responsible for this. I need to take care of it. And then it helps somebody. You're thinking about it a lot. So it's not.
Yeah. I mean, they're very, I mean, it has a qualitative difference. Love can accomplish all the things that you have to do without the responsibility.
Really?
I mean, it sees something that needs to be done and it feels like doing it. It's not like, oh, I gotta make sure I call my aunt today. It's her birthday.
Oh, wow.
But if it comes spontaneous, but see, here's the thing. I mean, I give this figure. Good is like the training wheels on a bike, you know, and it helps you balance. But once you can steer by yourself, once love and intuition can guide you, then you can get rid of the training wheels. But they were necessary up to a certain point. But then you don't want to be, you know, at your last incarnations kind of coming toward realization with your training wheels on. you know, I'm just joking, but this is this is not, I think, one of the most critical interior awarenesses, where intuition rather than the mind is guiding things, where love rather than the emotions of good are guiding. But anyway, I'll stop there and then let's see what Elaine Cox has to say.
Thank you.
Or Meher Prasad. I mean, I don't want to just go out on a limb here and get condemned, you know.
Thanks a lot, Jeff.
No, but it's, I mean, most people like good and love, people don't even make a distinction. I mean, they're conflated, but they are worlds of difference. One comes from our sanskaras and our conditioning, what we've been taught, and the other comes from beyond our conditioning. It comes directly from Baba, you might say.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. It's like if we didn't have Baba, we might not learn that. You know, that's probably the greatest gift he's given us is to do things the way you think would make him happy, regardless of your own feelings.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Always, yeah. I mean, Monty used to tell us, do what you think would make Baba happy every time, all the time.
Yeah.
And if you can do that simple, it's like a mechanical approach to it. But if you can do that, then pretty soon you're not doing it out of your own attachments or directives. You're doing it for the sake of love.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's kind of the transition from trying to do what would make Baba happy, and you keep doing it. Eventually, even with the training wheels on the bike, but
Right.
eventually you can get rid of the training wheels, and you're actually your life has become this effort to make Baba happy
Yes.
with what you do. Beautiful. Yeah, that's better than my answer.
Well, I just
What about-
remember Lonnie telling us that, you know.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. Mayor Prasad, you got anything to weigh in on?
I don't know, but I heard one of the Mandali or someone say this, that bad is like having your hands and feet tied, and good is just like your feet being tied, so that you can use your hands to untie your feet eventually. You can use your hands to untie your feet.
Oh, good. I like that. That's good. Or maybe unscrew the training wheels, and with the wrench.
Yeah.
Good. No, that's great.
But I have a quote that I don't remember seeing this before anywhere. So I thought this was interesting, in terms of love.
Yeah.
This is a Baba quote. It says, amidst intense activity, if there is absolute calmness of mind, that is the highest love.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Amidst intense activity, if there is absolute calmness of mind, that is the highest love.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Is
And
it-
that calmness, it seems to me, the only way I can approach calmness is trust. The key to that is trusting Baba completely.
Yeah.
And then you can affect calmness in your life. Everything else fades away. The importance of everything else fades away.
I mean, here's what over the years I've dealt with is I wait for love to prompt me on, say, a decision or to do. And I wait and I wait and I wait for love. If I wait, love may make itself known. But if it doesn't, then I got to go into plan B, which I got to do the good thing or the right thing. And I have to, I'm not entirely happy with doing the good thing or the right thing. There's nothing wrong with it, but they don't have the beauty and the spontaneity and the spark of something that love gets done through me. So it takes a lot of patience because, see, here's what I'm faced with a situation. If I can wait and wait and wait and see what love wants to do, that's the best. But sometimes, there's the urgency and I got to make a decision and everything. Okay, I'll do that, which is the good thing. And it doesn't, like I say, it doesn't have that freedom, that spontaneity, that lightness, that feeling of being very privileged, of being a recipient of love. I mean, it basically, it's trying to be receptive to that love that's there, ready to come in. But if I've got a whole regimen of good, bad, and all of these do's and don'ts and everything and shoulds out in front of, love has a hard time getting in and making itself known. Because I'm a little too committed over here to these shoulds, and oh yeah, wait there, love. I just, I got it here. Mom, I got the I can take it now, Mom. I got the bike under control, but it does take waiting to see what love wants to do, but you can't so much be in a hurry.
Hey Jeff,
Yeah.
here are a couple of lines I have from this book, Just to Love Him by RDK.
Yeah.
I just thought I'll quickly read this. Not that I understood that fully, but here it is. Love functions within us as the very purpose of everything we do. Let me read that again. Love functions within us as the very purpose of everything we do. From a sinner to a saint, this purpose or power motivates all our actions. No matter what the target we aim at, money, the opposite sex, power, fame, or God, the propelling force is love. I mean, this is by RDK.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's the major thing that's going on.
So from what I see here, for everything we do, the motivation is really love, seeking that love, right?
Yeah.
mm,
That's that's the theme of the drama. But within the drama, there's hate, love, anger, retaliation, and everything. But yeah, the whole drama is to bring us to divine love. Yeah, let's see what, Marta, did that confuse you all the more, or,
Well, thank you, everyone. It gave me more to think about. I think what Elaine said was very helpful because I always like when it goes back to give it to Baba, you know? And
Yeah.
so when she said, do what you think will make Baba happy, well, of course, I don't know that, but I can only make a decision what I think. So as long as I'm thinking of Baba, then he's taking over to try and help me to learn whatever it is I'm curious about this, because you speak about it very often and I had never heard about it before this year. And so I'm intrigued with it, and I really don't know what it means, but it's like I taste it, but I really don't know what it means. So that's why I wanted to ask you tonight. Thank you.
Yeah.
well,
Well, I think you're a very loving person, but part of it is that you don't get to know how loving you are. That's part of you're blinded by it, but we get to enjoy it. Really. People are more loving than they realize. They're in there having all sorts of crazy thoughts, and yet they're emanating warmth, and so and sometimes we don't know, but Baba kind of keeps us from actually knowing how loving we actually are. That's it serves its purpose.
if I could just toss in,
Yeah.
just to finish what she said, the more that you try the more that you can remember, now what would Baba want me to do here? The more that you think like that, pretty soon you're going to start feeling the difference between, you will get to know, your intuition will grow and it will become automatic. The more you try to do that, you'll start noticing the different feeling between making a decision yourself and what Baba does want. It'll start coming to you.
Yeah. Excellent. No, that's,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. One time, just to kind of give you an illustration, years ago, I was working at the Lakeview Kitchen and the original kitchen, and all around that whole building, there are probably about 27 windows. But not only are they just windows, but then they have individual panes.
Mhm.
So it's a tedious job. And one time, I was doing this window and 26, and then went down and did this window. That takes a long time. 25, going down to the next one, 24. I mean, hour goes by, another hour goes by, and then this thought came to me: is this entertaining to Baba? And I thought, no. I got to do it in such a way that that it's entertaining to him. You can't, in other words, he can't be like someone in a mall who's in the mall there with all of these television sets that are aimed out on the parking lot, and what if somebody in the parking lot did a little dance or something? It might, be a little more interesting. So, I mean, I realized that I've got to do these windows in such a way that he enjoys watching it being done. And there are ways, and that changed my whole attitude toward work. You know, I've got to do it. He's watching me all day. Well, at least make it fun for him, you know, rather than just a checklist. So I got window 26 done, window 24 done. Well, I got only 14 more windows. I mean, that is just boring to him. So I would get some kids, you know, and we'd do all sorts of fun things or talk and everything, make it entertaining to Bob. I don't know if that makes sense, but I mean, that's one of those things and you kind of know that Bob is enjoying this, me with these kids cleaning these windows, than it was when I was just seriously, you know, getting this done off my checklist,
Mm.
you know?
That's amazing, Jeff. That's really amazing to hear
Yeah.
that. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
That's such a good life lesson. Thank
Yeah.
you.
That was a turning point early on because, you know, it's not like the cleaning cabins is the most creative thing in the world. Oh, here I got to clean the near cabin again. God, I've already done it 178 times in the last 10 years. And these people, God, they never clean up after them. No, whatever. But I like what Elaine, that's a great orientation. That frames it in the context of Baba.
Hmm.
But Diane, you were part of this triumvirate of women.
So yesterday I listened to from Australia, a conversation with Peter Booth.
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So he said something that I really wanted to talk to you about. And that was that he said that the Mandalay said that they recognized him when he came.
Mm-hmm.
And they even said things like, don't you know who you are? And he would respond that he didn't really care, but that's a whole nother discussion. But I just wanted to talk about that aspect of, like you jokingly say, look around at all the squares. These are your fellow travelers for the next 700 years. So
Yeah.
I'm imagining that we all have had different lives and that I don't know what it takes to recognize each other, except for the deep connections that I've had.
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
this.
Mm.
And so I just want to know if the Mandalay ever talked about that subject, about that they recognize people. Why did they choose some Westerners to come live there, like Peter?
Well, it's not like they chose. I mean, sometimes they did, but sometimes people just, you know, they were driven to live there and serve, you know, independent of what the Mandalay said. But one thing that this is slightly different, but Bill LePage asked Erich what was going to happen in the next 700 years. And Erich said that his close ones and his Mandalay would be coming back. And that they will be amongst you. And so people say that the Mandalay era is over, but they're already back. They're amongst us. So there's a party after the Mandalay party. And some of these people are his old Mandalay or his old close ones. And here they are, they're back. They don't know what they did or who they were or whatever, but they have that fervor and that dedication to Baba. So we're, you know, for the next 700 years, there's going to be a party after one party after another until Baba comes again.
Mhm.
And yeah, so, you know, sometimes people say, oh, the Mandalay era is over. Well, no, some of these young people are back.
But was there ever a discussion that you knew where people said that they knew people from another life and that they recognized them. And the way Peter said it was Monty specifically asked him to move there.
Yeah, yeah, some were asked to, yeah.
And some just came and,
Yeah.
they were driven, they were pulled so strongly by Baba
Yeah,
to give up everything and just live in India. It's
And-
just so amazing when we think back, Heather and Erico, how they came and God.
yeah. We got VJ up there. Let's see what he says. He was drifting around with all of them for decades and decades.
Well, it was really for all the Baba lovers, and it was a curiosity for everyone. But until Baba mentioned it, that he is so and so, like he did mention from Shivaji's time, Adi is such and such, because he was married to, you were during Shivaji, you were married to me, Baba specifically said. He didn't marry. Then Tanaji, one of the Patil, Sadashiv Patil, Baba went to his house searching during early days to Kasba Pet, that you gave my life when I was Shivaji. So Sadashiv Patil was one of the important companion. And like that, like Behram was Afzal Khan. So many. And there used to be talk that there was curiosity that who is who and who is who. And and I felt that Sister Mani and all, they were all curious, but they never disclosed it. Whenever some new person came, I felt they had the capacity to know ki, oh, this could be this, this could be this. But unless Baba specified, I never. But in the West also people were there. They were talking about the who was in the past life. This went on. But what I feel it is in line of Baba's message that we have to go through many lives, and in that context, that makes me made me curious that yes, it is not just this life. There are so many lives one has to go through, and then before he gets liberation or so and so. So in that context, I was interested, and definitely it is curiosity for everyone, ki who could be, but it was not discussed openly, because see, there are other aspect also, like you are trying to show that that who is past life or who is that, so it creates other ego related things also. So but it was talked many times, past lives and connections.
And it really comes down to understanding yourself as you are in this moment. Because who you are in this moment is the embodiment of everything you've been. So you got to get to dance with this form, this personality in this moment. You might have been Napoleon, but I mean, what are you going to do with that?
Yeah.
You gotta your VJ Meshram now,
Yeah.
and you gotta steer the VJ boat and
Yeah,
not the Napoleon armada.
yeah.
I mean, it's
What difference it makes if I was Napoleon my past life? That's us. Because just to satisfy my ego. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Baba did, say that certain people, Kitty had been Saint Teresa of Avila. I mean, he did reveal some of these things, and Narina was Joseph, the father of Jesus. So he did do these things. But yeah. But you know what? I had a buddy of mine, Margaret Craft used to kind of come down for the summers, and she would sit on the porch there in the sun next to Kitty's office. And this buddy of mine went out for a walk with her, and he said, "This is a guy named Walter Overkarsh," and he said, "Margaret, you know, I must have done something. I must have done some good things in my past life to have the privilege of knowing Baba, have communicated with him in this lifetime." And Margaret stops in the middle of the road with her cane and eyes him kind of sharply and says, "What makes you think he was attracted by your good qualities? I mean, what makes you think he was attracted by your good qualities? It might have been your bad qualities." That so you don't, you know, you don't really you really don't know. But hey, we are so fortunate. Let's see. I wonder what Alan has got to say. I mean, he just came back from work and he's no, that's right. It's Sunday. It's not. You didn't work today, did you?
Hey, yeah, no, I took the day off yesterday because I was pretty burnt out. But yeah, you're mentioning Kitty, and I was actually just reviewing this book, Love Alone Prevails, because for some reason said that to a group of people who I was supposed to do a performance tomorrow, and I just sent out a group message and said, you know, because my family dog of 15 years is going to be put down, and so my mother was really hurt. She hurt herself trying to carry the dog. She was a 100-pound dog, and she's incontinent, so she's trying to carry her out, and my mom blew her back out, and so I just sent this message. Anyways, I sent this message, and I said, you know, something, and then at the end, it just was like, love alone prevails, and I sent it out, and I was like, why did I say that? And but then I'm sitting here, and I pulled out, I mean, listening to what you guys are talking about, and I pulled this book out, and I was just having a conversation actually with Adrian's mother about you know, what do I have to talk about? My life, my job. So I was just kind of talking about how this particular situation at work, where this person, somebody I work with, a coworker, one of the guys that works under me, he just kind of lashed out at me the last week, and he was just felt like he was, you know, like I was being unfair about the amount of work I was giving him or something. It was his last day before vacation, and so he was pretty nasty with me. And basically, there was a moment where I heard Baba say in the middle of it, it was like, I mean, not his voice, it was just internal, it was just deep inside his voice, just this knowing actually that like I should call him back after this conversation, this heated conversation where he hung up on me, and I should call him today and follow up and give into the love first. I really should do that. I know that that's the thing, not a should, but I feel like that would be the right thing. I just couldn't do it though. I was so frustrated and felt like that was so wrong and just like out of pocket, and I was already stressed, and I was like, I'm not calling him, and I'm not doing that. I don't care. You know, that's what feels right to me. But you're gonna ask me, Baba, you know what feels right to me is to not be loving to this person, because I'm just done with it. That's what felt right to me. So anyways, I opened up this book, and all of a sudden out of the 700 pages, you know, what am I going to pull up? You know, out of 700 pages, on page 277 of Love Alone Prevails, I'd like to share it if you'd like to hear it. It's just a short paragraph. Kitty talks about something that Baba told them, 12 of them, about not getting along. And he said, mend or go home. You leave your home, your family, dedicate all to me, live a life of binding. No freedom to go out to cinemas or theaters. In every way you sacrifice for love. You all love me, take me as God, and I really am God, but the only thing that is a shortcoming in you all is this complete lack of control. If you had control, you would be jewels as disciples, but control in all of you is so disastrously lacking that it makes it very difficult for me to adjust all your other good points, and this lack makes it a farce. Only 12 of you and no harmony. You all don't love each other. You cannot tolerate each other, and the slightest provocation demonstrates your weaknesses to the highest. Norina and Nadine tell the world, we live with the greatest master of the age, but you don't say, we stay with him and fight like dogs and cats. I warn you all very seriously, East and West, control. He puts that, that's written in italics. Very seriously, whenever you get excited, feel others are unjust, you feel they pass remarks, you feel you are in the right and they are in the wrong. The very moment you feel all this, remember me and control. Pinch yourself, go aside. You must take practical steps. The moment you feel excited, make a fuss, remember me and begin singing or dancing. Very practical. You will at once turn it into laughter. If you cannot control, then take this practical step, then you are lost. The slightest advantage given to the ego with the help of the mind bursts with all fury. Spirituality, this is a weird sentence. Spiritually, it is not cowardice to give in. If you cannot love, at least have the courage to give in. All this I have said a million times, but it goes in one ear and out the other. This is the last time I will tell you. If it goes out, I'll go. You all fight for no reason but lack of control. This is not yoga, but boga. Bog means taking, selfishness, and yoga implies giving, selflessness. Rano makes Norina mad. Kitty is daily getting moods. In short, you 12 raise hell every day for trifles, for things not worthwhile. I might have given you all silence, but you would have crashed each other. On the tour, will there be any squabbles? Anyways, out of all the things I could have read, you know, on 700 pages, I don't know. It was like, that's exactly what I was facing, is like on a daily basis, is to give into the love when it's very challenging. It's very, very challenging to do that when people are, you know, directly attacking your judgment or who you think you are. Yeah.
And of all the pages that you would have to open up to, Alan,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
that's so
yeah.
Baba. Yeah,
That's well, like Monty said, that it's got a signature on it.
yes.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree.
I like how he says, it really made me laugh when I read that part. What do you say? This is the last time I will tell you. When I read that, I felt something when he said that. This is the last time I will tell you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you feel like Bob was saying that just for you, Alan? Really? I mean, that's pretty direct, isn't it?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
know, it happens so many times when I'm when I'm struggling with something so intensely, and then, you know, I'll just a line like that. It's just very natural. It's not like supernatural. It didn't make me like shocked or anything. It was like all of a sudden I just used the word love alone prevails earlier in the day, and then later on I picked up the book and just naturally decided to open it up, and I just cracked it open, and right there was that paragraph about giving into love. And I had just been having this conversation, I mean, literally about an hour ago with Adrian, my wife's mother, about, you know, I really have a hard time giving into the love first. I know that I should be doing that. And she was like, giving into the love first? What do you mean? I was like, well, I don't know how to say it. But yeah, I don't know if anybody else is going through that now. I mean, I don't know if anybody else is working in customer service, but people are very upset in the world right now, and they really want
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
project that out onto others, and they're not feeling good and feeling lonely, and it's hard for me to keep the endurance of being a loving person or trying to be, or
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I would like to say that I think it's amazing and it's wonderful that you are aware of it, so aware of it. And that's really probably the best step one there could be.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Um, I I was on the wrong switch, so when I was speaking, it was like,
Yeah.
anyway, the two issues. One was the one you spoke about, the Mandali coming back.
Yeah.
And my thoughts are that right now, there is no Mandali to guide us, and we are on our own. And we have to resort to our intuition, because that's what Baba said was going to happen. We're going from the age of reason to intuition. And I felt that holding on to people who had known Baba, every meeting was always conducted by somebody who had known Baba, talked to Baba, and the newcomers didn't get much shrift because they had no, shall we say, authority granted to them by lineage when they hadn't lived at Mehrabad, as if that's the source of all, shall we say, knowledge, which in a way it is, except that Baba said that some of his best lovers never heard of him.
Yeah.
That
Yes,
if you take 25% of the world's population, you end up with 2.5 billion people. And the Baba lovers, I'm sure, just equal maybe several million, which is not small, but it's certainly not 2.5 billion. And out of that 2.5 billion, you've got people who believe in Jesus, Krishna, Brahma, you name it. So we can't assume that just because this is his latest advent, that the others have no authority, no connection, or that we have more of a connection than they do. And I just feel like that's totally wrong. It's not what Baba called it, right understanding. Because he said he would string all the religions like beads on one string. That meant that none of them were better than the other. None is more superior. And what counts is really being an honest, loving human being. That's really what matters, not what you believe in. And that also, when he died, there would be, I think, at least 10 circles of 12 disciples, or mandali, and that there would be, and this would go on for 200 years. A little bit different from what you said, Jeff, but that's what he said at one point. And I'm thinking, well, how do we recognize them? And what do? We can't worship them because according to the New Life, the Song of the New Life, we're all in the same boat. Whether you're a fifth plane, sixth plane, or just a schlump or a street cleaner, you're all in the same boat. We are all in the same boat. So how do you then recognize the qualities of someone that you admire without worshiping them, without putting them on a pedestal, without saying, tell me what to do? Because basically that's what you're asking for. And it's really a thing I've been thinking about, because I really feel like, oh, this is such a bold thing to say. But I said this once before when I was dealing with Don Stevens, that I am the charge man for the new humanity. I have stories about it, but it's just, it's presumptuous, and yet it's true for me. It's been true for me since 1968, before I even knew about Baba. And when I'd done a summary of my work and I'd finished it, I remember the date, which was July 31st, 1968. And I found out a year later that Baba said his work was completely done, 100% done to his satisfaction on July 30th, which was actually the same time that I wrote my little essay. And then when I told this to Bao, he got very excited and said, I have to write down my adventures and my guzzles, which I'm slowly working on, but I'm not too motivated by it because the fires are kind of dull. And I like living a quiet existence, not a whole bunch of politics. So this thing about intuition and looking at somebody and seeing who they are, it's very akin to looking at God and seeing him as he really is. Because I have past life memories, past life recall. And I've known Baba for at least 1 billion years. And he's been in all these different forms, all these different names, but always the one. And when he came for me, of course, from lifetime to lifetime, I didn't know. It's not like you're born with this little pamphlet that says,
Amnesia.
oh, you were going to be, you're going to know, you don't get that when you're born. So it was always the revelation. And it was so, it's just so much love that you just want to follow him. He says, follow me? Yes, I'll follow you anywhere. And this comes over time. And having failed at everything you do in life, and then some guy comes by and dressed in rags, and he has a wonderful way of speaking. He looks at you and says, follow me. And you just put everything down, and that's what you do. So as far as Alan's predicament goes, I've run into it a long time, and I've had some terrible fights with ex-wives, plural. And the last marriage was particularly violently angry because I was going through a lot of subtle, plain intensity. And I had to learn all this so I could impart it to other people and what I'd learned. And what it is that if you were once in love with a person, you still are. And who you are is really love. That's your true nature. So you don't have to learn to love God. All you have to do is unshackle yourself from your mind, which has these chains and things and positions and what you should think and what you should say and how to be a good Baba lover and a bad Baba lover and all that garbage that goes through your mind, and just go back to a childlike state when you were just a little kid and you went up to another little kid and said, do you want to play? And you don't know him from Adam. And yet you're putting yourself out there. You're willing to be his friend or her friend. And the other one says, okay, let's play this. And you think, okay, let's do that. And you have this relationship based upon who you really are, which is love. So when it comes to dealing with people, my advice, what I do is I practice so what, which is you're always at a point of choosing. When you choose, you experience love. That's the realm of the soul. Always comes with choosing. So somebody's in my face and they're bugging the shit out of me and I want to sock them in the nose. And I'm a fiery guy, so I'm the Jalali type of God intoxicated soul. So there's no question that I just want to flatten them or yell at them. And I say, well, what's that going to get me? Am I going to go to jail for this? Or if I get into something with my wife, it's like, would I rather be right or be in love? And my answer is always, I want to be in love. And so I just brush it off. It's so what? So the man's going like this and bugging me, and I'm thinking, thank you for sharing. That's the worst you can do to somebody who's angry. Just
Yeah.
tell them, I appreciate your point of view. And that
Thank
kind of
you.
compassion actually warms them up and blunts the anger. So
Yeah.
if you want me to be quiet, I will.
Yeah, well, let's see where some other people are at. Shasima, what do you think about all this stuff?
Don't know, but I have one silly question. Jeff, you said love is above good and bad. So when we
Beyond.
yeah, beyond good and bad.
Yeah.
So when we do an action out of love, does it hurt someone else? Can it do bad to someone?
I mean, could your love hurt somebody?
Yeah.
I think it could hurt their ego, but not necessarily. I don't know if it hurts the heart. In other words, say suppose your parents are strict Brahmins and you want to marry a Western girl because you love each other. And so you go with the love, but it's going to hurt your parents. But is it hurting their heart or is it hurting their ego? You know, it's different. I mean, hurting someone's expectations is different from hurting there's a qualitative difference when you've hurt someone's heart. But I guess I don't think that love really hurts. I mean, love is a blessing to come into this world. It might sting a little bit, but it has a healing to it. I mean, sometimes children say kind of hurtful things, and yet they sometimes can be very valuable. You know, Mommy, why do you always yelling at Daddy? You know, that might be a hurtful, but it might wake her up, you know, to her behavior. But I always feel if you feel love, I think benefits every situation. But some people are going to be hurt by love. I mean, Marta's parents wanted her to be, you know, a good Catholic girl and everything, and she got into Baba. I mean, that's just hurt her whole family and everything, but you know, but it's kind of like that, you know, you just sometimes you're going to hurt people. I mean, I'm sure Diane and Terry, you've had to deal with you know, with this hurting people in your life, but the love, you know, you know, the love was what you know, drove you on.
So let's use this for an example. It didn't happen to either of us, blessed be, that when we came out to our respective families, they did not disown us.
Beautiful, yeah.
But there are many families who do disown their children because they aren't who the parent wanted them to be. So in this light of what happens with the love? I mean, Michael has this incredible ghazal about an AIDS patient whose parents would rather have their son die and be forgotten than have them deal with the horror that he is someone who they didn't want him to be.
I wonder if we could get Michael to read that yet once again. I mean, it's a very touching. I don't think Marta has heard his about Ben, this, and maybe Catherine hasn't heard.
But after he reads it, though, I want to discuss about like what happens with, does this mean that these people are out of touch with their love because?
Well, their minds are too strong.
Yeah, they get identified with good rather than love. It's good to be good to marry within your religion, your,
So,
yeah,
okay, so what it is, according to my studies on how the mind works, is that love, everything related to the realm of the soul, because we live in both realms. That's duality for you. You got the realm of the mind, the realm of the soul. This realm of the soul does not compare, doesn't measure, not right, not wrong. That's what the mind does.
yeah,
So if you ever get into a position, a point where you using a position, well, this is right, this is wrong, you have to say to yourself, well, I'm in the realm of the mind. And a fat lot of good it's going to do you, because there is no end to the possibilities. I mean, it's infinite. The what ifs, what if this and what if that, and this and that leads to this, and you get lost in it. That's why it's called a trap. And the Navajos call the mind coyote, because coyotes are very clever.
yeah,
And they disguise themselves and they're very quiet and they sneak up
Yeah.
on you. So let me find that.
listen to this. This is a beautiful poem.
So
I think Sally has heard it. Sally, have you heard this, this particular poem? Ah,
well, if you haven't, then you
Yeah.
don't know what you're missing.
yeah,
That was a joke, by the way.
yeah. We know.
I didn't hear you laugh, Jeff. Okay, guzzle tea.
I'm smiling. Yeah,
I chuckled.
Yeah.
I heard.
go for it, Michael.
All right. It is in Ward 5 where Paul is lying, dying, with tubes running up his nose to give the extra oxygen his lungs cannot afford him. Talking of his father, his childhood, somewhere in the Midwest. Every time he speaks, he takes off his oxygen mask, gasping, faintly rasping, etches the story of his life, of being afraid to tell his dad of him being gay, his family ashamed to visit him as he withers in the ward, stricken by a disease that stigmatizes them with failure. How can you forgive a child who's made you so wrong? Who lets all the world know that you have failed as parents? Best to disown the child and let him die forgotten, and reach out past the prison in our minds that keeps us from each other and from simply loving. And so Paul languishes in his bed, feebly reiterating the outlines of his life before he shifted to the final ward. A group of dedicated people catered delicious meals served by a woman dressed as a French maid in mesh stockings, to people slowly dying, ebbing, drifting towards an end that inexorably closes over them like dried flowers in a book. Paul is gone. Ike Gordon, David, Richard, Gary, Thomas, Charles, and Bruce, gone to see death's ferry to catch a glimpse as you wait for them in all your glory.
Beautiful.
Hmm.
That was Michael's little sojourn into one of the wards, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's there. You see, there you have the parents that, you know, he would have hurt his parents, but would he have really? I mean, is it he's hurting his parents, or the parents are hurting themselves, you know, by their beliefs? But so we want to come back to Diane because you had something to share.
No, I was just I didn't have anything specific to share except for the response about taking us to this part of the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Like what you just said was, I might have to ask you to repeat it again. It's about the parents being shackled by their own belief system that doesn't allow them to love.
Yeah, is that?
That was pretty intense what you just said. You were very eloquent.
This was Michael?
You,
Oh,
you,
me?
you were
Jeff
eloquent.
Wolverton.
You Jefferson Overton.
Yeah. No, it's, I know. I mean, like I say, you can hurt someone's ego, but hurting someone's heart, you can kind of feel it. You feel like you've hit them at a deep level, but there's, you're not going to be able to, I mean, when I went to college, I went to in New York, and a lot of these guys were, they were trying to please their parents, getting good grades, and they were just like, their parents were just breathing down their neck. And I could project, like when they were 65 and their father is 85, he's still disapproving of their life. You should have sent your kids to Harvard. Why, they just went to Penn State. What's that? You know what I mean? Once you kind of get into that, you come under that, trying to not to displease your parents, but it's it's a recipe for unhappiness and failure, or
Yeah.
unhappy. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this regarding love and good and bad. So there is a straight line, love is the real thing, and it's from the reality, and like
Yeah.
from God.
Yeah.
And love is actually, there are many degrees of love. Even the south north pole, if you put two magnets, south and north, and they get attract towards each other, from there love begins, and then it goes on refining, and then then you have expectations in love, so then you have to make sacrifice. So like that love gets purified and degree, and to the extent that it becomes divine, and then the super degrees that it converts into divine, and that makes what Baba happy. So whereas good and bad, these are the illusion, because it's in duality, it's in the domain of duality. And where is reality, it's a shadow of reality. So good and bad, there is a no means it's always Baba, for Baba said there is no bad, there are only degree of good. So yeah, so the love is sacrifice, and actually love gives the happiness. You feel a joy. When Baba used to treat must, and he appreciated their love. They were so intoxicated. Baba said, ki, how do you differentiate between a must and a mad? So when you go to the mad person, it gives you the depression, and no, because there is no love there. Whereas must, when you go near him, you feel a kind of happiness and joy. So in love, it really gives you happiness, the real love. When you come home, when you meet your wife you loved, you get a kind of refuge in love. So love is such a thing that actually entire world's the creation sustains because of love. If there would not be love, we would not have instead we would be like some other planet. And that's why liberation is possible on this earth, because we have a heart and love, and that's why that makes me capable of loving to God. So thank you, Alan, for reminding that make him what makes him happy. So that's really important. That's a part of our day-to-day all actions. We should classify our action whether that will make Baba happy or not. So that way, I think we can concentrate on Baba, and we can make others also happy. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's
I have
in the
a slightly different subject. Oh,
in the discourse on marriage, Baba said that a couple could become a beacon for humanity as they make constant adjustments to each other, and the children would be the fruit of that, would enjoy their love and become wonderful human beings because of their love. And also, that's what I believe Baba was referring to when he said, you would come to me. One of the versions of that, when you said his name or God's name when you died, that one of the courses of action was that you become born into a loving family. So he said that with these constant adjustments that couples make to each other, it would lead them to the very door of realization.
Getting the cake.
And when I read that, I said, you know, that's me. I'm going to do that. And I have a whole bunch of failed marriages to prove it. But I also have one really successful marriage.
Yeah.
Where we do make these adjustments to each other. And things that I would have thought about years earlier, it's like, no, it isn't worth it. It isn't worth it. I love being in love too much to waste it on being right about something or worrying about being controlled by somebody or whatever. It was like all these issues have just evaporated. But you know, they come up. I'm not perfect. And who knows if I ever will be, but in this lifetime.
hey, I wanted to,
I have a poem about
what I wanted to veer off a little bit here. You might find this interesting. You know, I used to ask, Margaret Krask, what was the life like up there on the hill in the late 30s into the 40s? And she'd always kind of like roll her eyes like, oh my God, don't remind me of that place. I mean, they had so many conflicts like, Alan read there. And not only that, but then Baba would put someone who was very talkative with somebody that didn't like to talk, or someone who was messy with somebody who was very meticulous. And I mean, so he would be creating this type of stuff. And so there's a scene where then, in the 70s and 80s, a lot of these Westerners started living at Lower Mehrabad, and there would be all sorts of conflicts that were going on, and turf wars, and this person's over in my area, and this person is sloppy, and this person is trying to get some work done. This guy doesn't do anything. So all this is going on, and this one guy would come out into the trust to talk with Erich and complain, about the disharmony and the dysfunction out there at Mehrabad. And so this is Erich's response. Now, this is unusual because I spent a lot of time in Mandalay Hall. I never heard him talk quite like this. So this guy comes and he's doing his usual complaints, and Erich says, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't see anyone being subjected to the kinds of hardships that we had to undergo when we were with Baba. Things were so much more intense then. Compared to what we had to go through, you people are literally on a picnic. Then he says, but the guy said, but you had Baba's physical presence to sustain you. Erich chuckled and said, his physical presence is what we got fed up with. His presence would become so oppressive at times that we wanted to get away from it. You people can go to the bank or bazaar or just outside on your own or eat what you like. Not only that, but most of you take a vacation once a year to get away from work and feel rested. We had no such thing. Not only did we have no freedom, but every moment of our lives revolved around Meher Baba. We were constantly at his beck and call for his work. Our duty was to take care of his physical body and comfort at all times, whether he was working or resting. We had absolutely no free time for ourselves, and for that matter, any kind of freedom at all. We were his slaves, and this was our state for years at a stretch. Can you imagine how oppressive it can become to have no freedom, to work until your body is fully exhausted, to not be given rest, food, or even a bath for days on end, and to do this all cheerfully? The worst part was, if we harbored any negative thoughts, Baba, being the God-man and knowing what was in our minds, would ask us to speak out. So we did not even have the privacy to think. All this can be very, very oppressive, but there is a very positive side to all of this. Erich paused for a long time. Then he said, you may wonder what the positive side to harassment and oppression is. It helped us remember him every moment in a most natural way. We didn't have to make effort to meditate or concentrate on him as you people have to do. Have you not had a time in your life? Now, this is for Alan here. Have you not had a time in your life where someone or some situation has caused you constant harassment? What happens at that point? Your mind constantly thinks of that situation or person. It was like that for us too. But that was his grace or real blessing. After years and years of feeling harassed around him, our remembrance of him became so continuous that we could not help but think of him. And I tell you, that is the real blessing, to remember him constantly.
Yay.
Wow, I mean, he never shared this kind of stuff in Mandalay Hall. Like, you guys think you're oppressed. You think you're oppressed in your life. Well, Bob is the most oppressive guy to be with.
Jeff,
But
my father, when as a childhood, I got a good caning from my father. So when I was child, I was really felt miserable. But now I feel, I love that it was a blessing, and I love those stresses. Oh, those canning. Oh, I miss those. So see, you don't know, it's a blessing, because when he goes away, it makes you cry. Oh, I love those tortures. So,
yeah, no, it's what a life. But I think we should all pray for Alan. Let us pray that he may no longer be harassed.
When he grows more older, then he will say, oh, that was nothing, simply. He will laugh at himself.
Why do you think we look so worn out, Alan?
I read where Upasni would disagree. He would say, increase the suffering until the mind is overwhelmed.
Yeah. Even Bao would say that, Yeah.
Bao wrote a great ghazal about that.
Yeah. In fact, Erich said, you have to be very careful about suffering, because you could actually fall in love with it.
Yeah.
I mean, not the flagellation type of thing, but there is I was in Mandalay Hall. This is back in maybe around the mid 70s. And we were there, and somehow after about an hour or something in there, I was just sitting off to the side, and I looked over at Erich, and I said, Erich, I have a feeling that if I were to inhabit your body for a half hour, all I'd want to do is go unconscious and asleep. And he flashed me I don't think anybody else saw it, but he flashed it, but he didn't answer me. But I knew that if I were in his body for a half hour, I'd get crushed. The amount of, and this was back when he was robust too. It wasn't like he was old man. the amount of suffering that I saw in him, was unimaginable for me to bear. But but he was so casual and everything, it was all camouflaged, except that one moment when I saw in there.
Jeff, I
Yeah.
saw a post, Catherine is here. I saw a post from Catherine regarding a broken heart. And when I read it, I say, my God, she sounds like Simab, because she written that when the heart is broken, when your heart is touched, it opens certain new avenues after, means when your heart gets broken or that kind of suffering. So that's a real great spiritual wisdom. And yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It
This
leads
is,
to,
Catherine,
yeah.
you had a poem, did you?
I think it was on Facebook and
Yeah.
DJ saw it. I can maybe try to find it in a minute here in a second. And it was regarding a broken heart that a friend of mine had a tragedy happen. His dog just ran into the highway and got killed by a car, and it was just so tragic because it was just a tragic situation, and he was just heartbroken over it. And I've certainly dealt with heartbreak, and so I could relate. And so let me see if I can try to find it, but I'm better at writing than I am speaking. But the idea was that I had heard one time that there was something about the heart is broken so that the light can come into the heart.
Yeah.
You heard something like that. And I was kind of challenging that a bit and saying that it seems like the heart is broken so that the light can come out of, who we really are inside. And so if I can find it here in a minute.
There's a motto, Mother Teresa's motto prayer was, Lord, break my heart so completely that the whole world falls in. Who says things like that? Break my heart so completely that the whole world falls in.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
I found it. So let me go
Good.
ahead and just read it. All right. So it was Why Broken Hearts. And this post is for those that can relate to my spiritual journey that has included many experiences of my heartbreaking with significant trauma, but also significant spiritual growth. So speaking of suffering, that's been part of my path. I wrote this in response to a recent tragedy of a friend. Experiencing a broken heart is real for many, including myself, and a recent tragedy compels me to understand it further. What is really breaking? It's not the heart muscle itself, but certainly can be felt in my chest or near my heart. Sorry, I lost it here. I have heard a saying that a broken heart lets the light in, but my understanding now is really the other way around. The truth that I seek enlightens me enough to understand that the broken heart is necessary to let the light shine out. It is part of the process of realizing the love and light of our true selves within us. When we seek real love and truth and follow the path of love, our false selves start breaking apart as that love grows and the light shines out more and more until we are no longer covered up by the false illusion. This may be done gently and over time or more quickly, which can be traumatic. The healing process is unique in that these wounds are not to become scars, but rather remain open for the light to be released. It takes more love and light, which caused the breaking in the first place, to get to the peace and understanding of the process, which leads to the compassion for other hearts and living like Christ in the world. It is a difficult journey and not for the weak of heart for sure, but those of us that are on this journey can have comfort in knowing that we have the love that it takes to bring light into a darkened world. So shine on, dear ones. We are the light that the world needs.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
So
Good
it's
material for a poem.
I could work on that, but it's just, we are light, inside, and it's this false self and this ego and this whole duality that makes us think that we're something, that we're separate from God, separate from Baba, you know, that's, and you know, when it comes to mystical language from different religions, it all, to me, it all is very similar.
Yeah. Yeah, Rumi said the light comes in through the wound. Yeah.
It's something about having the heart be broken, or having it's maybe really more the false self be shattered, that it feels
Yeah.
like a broken heart. You go through this trauma, you go through the suffering, but it's part of the process, whether you like it or not.
Well, it's Baba's
Wonderful.
favorite tool.
Heart.
I have a poem about
Don't
that.
remind him, Elaine.
I
What was
give
my
up.
favorite
I
tool?
surrender.
Oh yeah,
I
Elaine told me it was this one right over here. Yeah.
Yeah. Humiliation is one of his favorite tools.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
The
sure.
Mandalay, there were 3 adjectives that they described their life with Baba. Exhaustion, frustration, and humiliation. They all kind of had variations off of those 3.
Yep,
That was their life.
yep.
Exhaustion. I mean, to where, I mean, Eric said it was so exhausted that you didn't even feel like asserting yourself. You know, you just like, okay, you know, whatever. Just no oomph. Yeah.
And
Dinesh, you got any?
humiliation is a strength.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has had a good Easter today, Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Happy Easter.
There's a couple of paragraphs that I wanted to read. It might be something to read when you're finishing up, though. It's Baba's words.
Oh, go for them now. That's,
Okay, I don't know what time it is or anything, but
I don't need, I lost my watch. Yeah, or it broke.
under the strain. No doubt. Okay, this is out of God Speaks. When infinite reality, that is God, manifests on earth in the form of a man and reveals his divinity to mankind, he is recognized as the avatar, the Messiah, the prophet. God thus becomes man. In this manner, infinite God, age after age, throughout all cycles, wills through his infinite mercy to effect his presence amidst mankind by stooping down to human levels in human form. But his physical presence amidst mankind not being apprehended, he is looked upon as an ordinary man of the world. When, however, he asserts his divinity on earth by proclaiming himself the avatar of the age, he is worshipped by some who accept him as God, and glorified by a few who know him as God on earth. But it invariably falls to the lot of the rest of humanity to condemn him while he is physically in their midst. Thus it is that God as man, proclaiming himself as the avatar, suffers himself to be persecuted and tortured, to be humiliated and condemned by humanity, for whose sake his infinite love has made him stoop so low, in order that humanity, by the very act of condemning God's manifestation in the form of the avatar, should, however indirectly, assert the existence of God in his infinite, eternal state of reality. And
Wow.
I thought that was such a beautiful 2 paragraphs
Yeah.
to explain Easter.
Ah.
I wanted
Yeah.
to, I had kind of marked it to read it to myself on Easter. And
Yeah.
it's so profound and simple, actually.
Yeah. Oh, that's so clear.
That's off of page 162 and 163 in God Speaks, second edition revised.
Yeah.
In short, there is a definition that
Yeah.
whose past is worshipped, present is avoided, and
Yeah.
the future is awaited with great fervor and expectation.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if his presence is known to everybody, that will make his work very difficult. So suppose if everybody comes to know Meher Baba while he was present, then it would not have been possible for him to move so easily and go and so he invites all this under the cover of ignorance. He
yeah.
works and then
It's,
slips out.
yeah. Slips out
You
the
know,
back door.
I was always amazed when Bill LePage would say that Baba took 2 trips to Australia, and there are really only 43 Baba lovers at that time. I mean, some other people saw him, but I mean, those who were dedicated. Imagine God comes here on earth and he goes to a continent, and there are only for 43. I mean, you can have a Baba meeting somewhere like we had for Bob Brown today. I mean, there were more than 43 people there, I mean, it's amazing how little Baba is recognized when he comes.
Yeah.
So few. It's
And how fortunate we are
yeah.
to be among those few.
Look at Maher Mount. Baba went up there for one afternoon and there was a handful of people.
Yeah.
Why did he go there? What did he do? And then he went up north, to the Dunites. That was less than a handful, maybe a handful of people, and stayed the night there. What was that all about? For who? Why? Who knows?
Yeah. But I would say this, that it wasn't the Jesus's disciples that spread his name all over and did the converting of people. It's that Jesus had already made the changes in people's hearts. I mean, he had already kind of implanted, and so they're basically just hearing the name. Who is it that has made this change in me? Who is it has created this presence in me? So it's not like that. So they're basically just letting people know who this great changer was. Who gave them this all this gift that they have within. So it's amazing. So I mean, we have all been, people. Baba came, and there are probably millions and millions of people's hearts that he's filled, but they just don't know it yet. But they're going to say, where did I get this? Where did I get this love? And then, oh wait, hey, I think it's that guy right there.
Hey, Elaine,
Yes.
I look on page 162 and 163 of God Speaks.
Yes.
And I don't know that I'm finding it. What is it? I have a state 5, God is soul in the state of evolution. Is that what you have?
No, it might be the editions are different.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
which edition do you have? If you look on the title page behind the title page, it'll give you.
Yeah. I have second printing.
Of which edition?
It doesn't say. It just says
Well,
copyright 55.
What is the quote near? Elaine,
Okay.
what is the quote near?
I mean, mine is an old book. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, so you're probably going to be about 10 pages earlier than that. Mine is the second edition and the second printing.
Okay.
Dated 1975. So.
Well, mine's 1955, so.
Yeah, okay. So yours is going to be, look about 10 pages earlier. The paragraph actually begins with the word thus, which I omitted because it's running on from the paragraph before. Thus, when infinite reality, i.e. God.
I'm sorry for taking time to do this, but I really appreciate it. I mean, is it under state 3, God is emanator, sustainer, and dissolver?
Just a minute. Let me go back a page and I'll let you know.
Just show her what it's near.
Well, yeah, this is all about the stages of God, this whole chapter. I'm going back, I'm going
It's
back.
not in the 10 states of God. It's not in chapter 9.
Let me get to, it's right after this chart here.
I mean, there's someone that when you read it, it's like, oh, this would be so. I have a friend who is not a Baba lover, and she knows a lot about Baba through me. But I mean, I was speaking with her today on Easter, and she was grappling with just understanding Jesus, and she believes in reincarnation and trying to understand all of this. And I thought to myself, I am so fortunate to know all this through Baba that I forget how fortunate I am.
Yeah,
I forget that this is a privilege, that I don't have these questions at all. It's settled in my mind in a way that makes sense. And I thought, oh my God, what you read was so clear.
Yeah, it is. It's just beautiful. And it explains Easter, the whole idea of the suffering of Christ, you know?
Yeah.
What it's all about. Okay, this general chapter is the evolution of consciousness.
Okay.
And it's a very big chapter, so I'm having trouble finding a sub.
Well, if you want to look and just put it in the chat, that way it won't take everybody's time.
Okay. There is a chart called the 4 journeys, and it's just a few pages after the 4 journeys.
Okay.
Maybe 5 or 6 pages after that.
All right. Okay.
If you can find that.
Oh, Ganesh, anything happening there in Pune?
Anything happening here in Pune? Pune is getting bad and bad. So with the COVID virus, so it's again lockdown and everything here. So yeah, and even including Nagar. So with Arangaon, so many cases, over 100 cases of
Arangaon.
Yeah, Arangaon is locked. There's part of Arangaon is locked down. So suddenly everything now is getting topsy-turvy. Things were looking in control, but not so.
Yeah. Well, let's see.
Yeah, by His grace, this too shall pass.
Yeah. Here's I got a poem, and this is kind of the way I think of Baba too. The way is expressed in this poem. It's a version of Hafiz. Perfect equanimity. Look how a mirror will reflect with perfect equanimity all actions before it. There is no act in this world that will ever cause the mirror to look away. There is no act in this world that will ever make the mirror say no. The mirror, like perfect love, will just keep giving of itself to all before it. How did the mirror ever get like that? So polite, so grand, so compassionate. It watched God. Yes, the mirror remembers the beloved, looking into itself as the beloved shaped existence's heart and the mirror's soul. My eye has the nature of God. Hafiz looks upon all with perfect equanimity. My poems will never tell you no, because the mirror is not like that. And if God ever hits you with a don't, he has his fingers crossed. He's just fibbing for your own good.
He's fibbing for your own good.
And if God ever hits you with a don't, he has his fingers crossed. He's just fibbing for your own good. I mean, that's the way I think of Baba. I mean, that's just my feeling, that he never really disapproves, but he puts on a face of disapproval to keep you from doing something that's not in your best interests. So sometimes I can look at a smiling face of Baba. Well, I got like some, backbiting thoughts or something are going in my head, and I look at a smiling photograph of Baba, and he suddenly frowns. You know, how can that happen? But he's let me know, just Jeff, don't go there with those thoughts. So, yeah. Well, and what about Dinku? We haven't, she's been just kind of ensconced back there in Bombay.
Oh, I'm here, Jeff, listening
Uh-huh.
to everything,
Oh, yeah,
listening
we
to all
haven't,
of you.
we haven't put you to sleep or anything?
No, no, no. I
Okay,
make sure that I'm very much there.
yeah. As she says after a fifth cup of coffee, yeah.
No, it was a
Yeah.
very interesting talk, and
Yeah.
I was thinking about what you all said and what Alan said, and it's a lot, I guess, to do with the conditioned beliefs that parents and the older generation had, which prevents them from acceptance of who their child is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've made myself clear.
No,
And that's sort of what causes the conflict.
yeah. They have certain ideas about how they want you to be, and you just don't usually fit it.
Yes, but then for them, I mean, I look at it this way, that it was their conditioning, of the beliefs that have been passed down from
Yeah.
one generation to the other. And the present generation, or a lot of our generation, we sort of branch out, break away from all that to try and be our own selves, true to our own selves, and not just follow those blindly.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that this is played out, this drama is played out lifetime after lifetime in all parts of the world. The younger people are always kind of pushing the envelope. And it's good that it happens. Yeah. And then as we get older, if we have children, our children are behaving in ways that are just, beyond our, they're a little bit too far out for us.
Yeah, that's true.
If we don't stay kind of flexible, Baba used the word flexible. Keep staying flexible. I don't know if Mayor Prasad has ever found that word in Baba's writings, flexible.
I heard vagueness, but I don't know about flexible.
Yeah, flexible. Yeah, vagueness. He wasn't keen on vagueness. So hey, I guess, let me think. Oh, Janet, here's an interesting one. A poem. This is by Rumi. I mean, we're talking about the Advent and everything. Why the prophets are human. This is Rumi. And Ali is kind of the Erich of that time. A woman came to Ali. My baby has crawled out on the roof near the water drain where I can't go. He won't listen to me. I talk to him, but he doesn't understand language. I make gestures. I show him my breast, but he turns away. What can I do? Ali says, take another baby his age up to the roof. The woman did so, and her child saw his young friend and crawled away from the edge. The prophets are human for this reason. that we may see them and delight in their friendly presence and crawl away from the downspout.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Rumi's so great that way.
Yeah.
You know, Jeff, after reading what you read about Erich tonight and what he said about living with Baba,
Yeah.
it made me feel like, oh, I'm really fortunate to be just in this generation of Baba lovers.
Yeah, right. And we can go shopping, you know, and have an ice cream and
That's
take a
right.
vacation.
And take a vacation, yeah, and go to bed and think
And
of
see the
Baba.
end of a movie.
You know,
That's right.
All the way to the end.
one time, Baba said, you know, kind of took compassion on Erich and Alaba and a few of the Mandali and said, okay, you can take a vacation. So they went up to the mountains and, you know, they were having a picnic. But someone at a distance recognized Erich and came over with his family because he wanted to hear all about Baba.
Oh.
And so, oh my God, that was the end of that vacation. And what could he do? I mean, he couldn't say, hey, we're on vacation here, you know, just go back to your own picnic. You can't do that. Love wouldn't let him do it. And so that's a vacation. That's Baba's vacation for Erich and Alaba. Yeah.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
What you were saying reminds me of when you had mentioned that a lot of the times these things that Baba would, you know, put people through and puts us into these situations, these scenarios to forget ourselves, correct? Or to more and more be less attached to who we think we are.
Yeah, I mean, anything to kind of stir up the sanskaras and get them, force us to give them to him, you know. I mean,
What about like, I guess there's this particular transition periods for people, or for each one of us, we have to maybe come to places where there's I don't know, it's like that story about Muhammad and somebody coming up to Muhammad and asking him, you know, hey, please tell me about the difference between free will and destiny. And Muhammad ignored the guy and pissed him off to the point where he was like, okay, go ahead and stand on one leg. And the guy was like, okay, now what? And he was getting super pissed off. And Muhammad was like, okay, now lift the other leg and stand. And the guy's like, I can't do that. And he's like, well, there you go. There's as much as you can move the leg that's raised around, that's your free will. And the leg that's planted on the earth is your destiny. And so I just feel like, for me, when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, there's certain things that I'm still very attached to. And I'm dreadfully aware of how attached I am. And at the same time, I just can't let go. I can see, it's like a clutch of it's like a crab claw that's like intuitive, not intuitive, it's instinctively like clutching onto these things. I see and feel and experience how hard I'm holding on. And at the same time, I'm looking at Baba and I'm like, please let me let this go. And he's like, you know, it's some things are just not ready, but at the same time, I don't know how to say it. It's like I look at these things that I still feel attached to, and there's a flavor to them. You know, it's like sucking on a candy, a mint, and you've sucked on this mint because it helped you feel. Anytime you felt scared, you just pop a mint in your mouth, and you're like, okay, this is how I live in the world. And then Baba starts to take away the flavor of the mint, and you're like putting this thing in your mouth, and you're like, I can't taste but I still want to do this. You know, this is still helping me. I still need to pop this. You know, this is mint. I think I can't taste it anymore. Is this mint? Is it still mint? I think it's mint, and then there's just like this, you lose the flavor
Yeah,
of these things that have just been so dear to you, and they're just, and then
yeah.
he's just so sweet in the way that he, slowly kind of, he just, slowly shows, like the mirror is just like, that's not real. And you're like, but it can't not be real, Baba. Like this is mint. I mean, it's got the flavors, it's got it's still, it's these colors, I can see it, I can feel it. And it's like, he's looking at you and he's like, yeah, well, keep tasting, see how long you're going to taste that for. It's going to be, you're not going to taste anything anymore one day. And it's the beginning of the end of something. And there's something of like, you really, the real end, like the real end of like, the storyline of who you are. And you've been through all these stories, and it's an addicting, very alluring, I mean, so passionate story that's been going on for so long. So I don't know, I just wanted to say something to that, or like, just I don't know, I feel like there's some sort of sadness in that, and also a relief, but not really. It is painful to try to, I don't know, go through this and be aware that all these things you've used to utilize everything you are is being slowly slipped under the, it's just, you look around and you're like, hey, where did my vase go in the room? Huh. And then you're like, the next day, hey, where did my tables go? Oh. Hey, I used to have a painting on that wall. Oh, did you? And they were like, now it's just his face. And you're like, wait a minute. I just, you know what I mean? I don't know.
No,
Well,
yeah.
As Padre would say, these things take time, mister.
Yeah, Alan, it's like a sort of a slow process of detachment. It kind of gradually builds up in you. That's what I've experienced a lot, at least, and then I realized, oh, I'm not attached to it. And a lot of things that I used to be attached to anymore, but it was a gradual process of going through a lot of hardship, difficulties, suffering, call it what you like. And then you really, at some point, you realize that those things didn't really matter and they don't affect you anymore.
I was also searching for an answer to free will, and I came up on a Baba quote just on the internet. And I want to say he said that there really wasn't free will, but that you basically are either a slave to your false self or you're a slave to God's will. That's really the only option.
Oh, awesome.
And so, it's the term of surrendering to God's will and then becoming his slave in that sense. You can just kind of make that determination and just whatever you're doing, it's surrendering to God's will. And then eventually you become more and more aware that that it's God's will that's directing you in your life and using your life.
Well, it took me about 65 years to get that one.
I just recently,
Baba said that there's not a leaf that doesn't move without my will. And well, that kind of puts it right there, So
I once asked Darwin how he came down on this, and he had me kind of come up with various expressions, phrases. And the one that he signed off on was spontaneous predestination. Now, what does that mean? It means that the script it's already been scripted. The drama has already been scripted, but it's in black and white. And through love, which we're free to express love. And through love, we put the colors into this black and white drama. In other words, love predates creation, so it's really free. That's the only thing we have free is love. And so here we are, we're in front of the screen and we're talking to each other. I mean, this is destined that we're here. but we can just, sit there and just view it boringly, or we can kind of put some color into this scene with each other. That's kind of what Darwin said. I kind of believe that we can make each moment beautiful by putting love into it, or we can just take it, as as it is, and just let it unfold in a humdrum way with not much color. So it gives us an active part in how we respond to this worldwide drama movie. I like that. It's because if it's just all predestined, that's kind of like, it kind of leaves me like, oh, what's the point then? If it's all just gonna just unfold and someone is, up there at projectionist is like running the film, No, we can put the colors into it. That's the lovely thing. I mean, Erich used to say, I exercised my free will to become his slave. He used to say that. I exercised my love to put it in, he exercised his love to put it in Baba's cause. Yeah.
Something on this, there's a nice quote by Shams and Shams Tabrizi, master of Rumi. So here is what he says. Destiny doesn't mean that your life has been strictly predetermined. Therefore, to live everything to fate and to not actively contribute to the music of the universe is a sign of sheer ignorance. Music of the world is all pervading and it is composed of 40 different levels. Your destiny is the level where you play your tune. You might not change your instrument, but how well to play is entirely in your hands.
Yeah, read that again. I was you were not real clear. There was your audio was doing something.
Yeah. Destiny doesn't mean that your life has been strictly predetermined. Therefore, to live everything to fate and to not actively contribute to the music of the universe is a sign of sheer ignorance. The music of the world is all pervading and it is composed of 40 different levels. Your destiny is the level where you play your tune. You might not change your instrument, but how well to play is entirely in your hands.
Beautiful. Yeah. Hey, so
there's another the way I've come to look at this. If you look at it from the realm of the soul and being childlike, it's like, what's next? It's like, I know I'm on a path, right? But I really don't know what's going to happen next. And I know I'm going to be delightfully surprised. And I like reading it with this enthusiasm that, well, what else are you going to show me? And it's like my 5-year-old son woke up one morning, we were sleeping, we had an air mattress and it was right near the window, and he stood up and he pulled the shade back and he said, "It's morning time." And he said it with such enthusiasm that it never left me. He knew it was going to be morning time, sure, right. But he didn't say, "Oh, another day."
I've seen that morning before. I've seen enough of them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Hey, let's have a few moments of silence and
Yeah,
maybe,
I had this one question, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff, I was reading about, did Baba say anything about chakras? Like I've seen it in beams where at one place it's mentioned, but that's all. Just was curious to know if anything Baba said about chakras.
About what?
Chakra. The circles,
the
the energy circles
chakras?
in the body.
The chakras?
Yes.
I know Arti told me that Baba's path is on the front and not the back. Not the chakras going up the back, but the front. And the heart chakra is the everything from the front goes into the heart, comes under the umbrella of the heart chakra. But not the back. That's the tantric, you know, that's a little, that's just what Adi said. And Darwin talked about the heart chakra is the one that Baba emphasized. And there are all these other ones and everything, but if they can come under the umbrella of the heart. Hey, so let's have oh, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff, for that.
Yeah. Let's have a few moments of silence. Yeah. But before we do, next Sunday, Nashua Nalavala is, I'll have him on here. In fact, Ganesh, you might tell some people there in India, and we're going to find out, I'm going to, interview him about, his parents and his meeting with Baba and how he felt and everything. I'll try to pin him down and get him. He didn't want to just talk. He wanted to, makes it easier for him to answer questions. So we'll get.
You wanted to be grilled.
It'll be next Sunday at 10. Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Thank you for bringing all this up. Yeah. Thank you. Good. No, it's
Thank
nice
you
to
very
hear all of
much.
this. Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jai
Nasreen, Jai
Yes.
Baba.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
everybody.
you guys, I mean, everybody,
you.
had to sing. Oh, Dinesh.
Yeah, Baba.
Yeah. You weren't here, were you? I didn't see you.
Listening to
Yeah.
your divine talk.
Yeah. So anyway, the questions are really good because these are all issues like Michael said, we're all in the same boat. And it's not like the leak is only on one side of the boat. We're all going down, baby.
You got your pump with you.
Yeah.
Or your bucket.
Yeah. So yeah, don't hesitate to.
Well, and Jeff, you've said several times about how Eric said how asked the question, how will there not be a religion? And the answer was something about that everybody has their own opinions in the Baba circles kind of thing, wasn't you?
Yeah. He said if his lovers would get together in small groups and share their mystical experiences. But that's what he used in early 70s, to share our inner experiences. It could be averted.
Right.
Because everybody has such a unique experience. We all have a different flavor of love for Baba. You can't make a system out of it or a dogma, or, it's everybody's different except Alan,
Let's all pick on Ellen.
Yeah. No, we got to pray for Alan. No, he's getting it. I'm sure you're going to thank Baba for this period of your life. When you later on, when you're just working in a library and, signing out books and everything. No conflict.
Alan, I really like the way you shared your experience. It was very clear.
Yeah,
Jeff,
Well,
I'm
thank you all.
dying.
It was really helpful.
yeah,
It just occurred to me to ask this when you're talking about, Alan's experience and how one day Alan will come to appreciate this. How long do you really think it took the Mondley once they got, okay, I'm jaded when I say this, when Mayor Baba treated them a certain way, how long do you think it took them to come around to finally say, yeah, it was all a blessing? It's kind of a rhetorical question, but couldn't resist.
I think it took Kitty 20 to 30 years.
oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, remember she says she was so mad, she threw an orange across the compound and then it ended up rolling up to Baba's feet.
Yeah,
And when I knew her, she didn't have any of those moods.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, Erich used to say that spiritual progress is very, 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 very gradual.
By the way,
Four
Erich,
days.
I had an experience with Erich in '74. In '69, I had my experience. So I go again in '74, and we and the other, about 5 people from the West, and we were walking to Pimplegum, and there was a dry creek bed, and there was this barren tree in the creek bed. And we're walking along, and Erich says to me, "You see that tree? That's a sandalwood tree." And after 40 years, it bursts open of its own accord, releasing its fragrance. And he looked at me very pointedly. Well, he was wrong. It took me 50 years.
Yeah. Before the fragrance starts to be emitted.
Right. And the poetry comes from that.
Yeah. And then you're stuck on Zoom where no fragrance is emitted.
And it doesn't matter whether I've washed or not.
Yeah. Well, anyway, great hanging out with you guys and with Baba.
Thanks, Jeff. It was
Yeah.
wonderful. Good night.
Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai
Night,
Baba.
all.
Hey, Baba.
You could stay on.
Hey, Michael, are you still there?
Yeah.
What was it that you said that you were walking with Erich and then it was after a certain amount of time?
He pointed to the sandalwood tree, which to me looked like a dead tree. And he said, after 40 years, the bark bursts open and it releases its fragrance to the world.
Mm.
And I wrote the poetry about 20 years after I came to Baba, but other things, it was very difficult for me to put it all together into something I could be coherent about and even talk about.
Yeah.
There is so much stuff in the universe. And what you do, you have to sort through all this stuff and what is it worth, the value of it. And I'm a woodworker by trade. And I'm always solving problems. And it's in direct contradiction to my nature as a mystic, because I really don't give a damn. It's a wonderful contradiction, and it's really great to be happy these days rather than tormented. And I've been where you were, okay? I hated my father for 21 years, okay? And if somebody talked to me like my father, I would just scream at them. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to go through. And I think where did I read this? Some sort of attitude shift that Baba was talking about, like somebody who was on the path and they were like, they knew that it was gonna. So I don't know how I'm butchering this, but it's something about this person knew that it was gonna take them like 10,000 or whatever. I'm making it up. 10,000 lifetimes until they were God realized, and then the other person that was like told, it's going to be 100,000 lifetimes. Were like, okay, like they just accepted it, and they were the ones that got God realization. Not as like it's a competition, but it was just like this person that totally and wholly accepted that they were just where they were, and this is the present, and they were just here, and they just weren't worried about. And that goes into everything. It's like for me in terms of, well, when am I gonna get there. There's no there to get to, as Jeff was talking about. Like, it's just here. But it's also the detachment of like, I am, if I'm having a hard time and somebody's irritating me, I'm feeling that anger or the sadness or whatever, and I could either attach to that and be like, I am feeling this and they're doing it to me and I don't like this and my skin's on fire. There's that moment of spaciousness that is really, it's far and few between for me, when Baba really steps in as like, oh, this isn't all there is to live for, and what am I looking at anyways, because I keep facing the world and turning away from the sun, and I'm like, well, let me just try to find reality. If I just turn away from you, God, it's just a little bit, let me try to just turn away from you, because it's too bright sometimes, because I'm addicted to that shadow. But
I got a suggestion for you, if you're interested.
Sure.
You're married to Adrian, right?
Yeah. We're coming up on two years now.
Okay. Well, what I've learned after 5 marriages, I'm up there with Upasni, by the way. It's really important to keep personal comments and negative statements to yourself. Do not express them, because they come from the mind. So in life, you've got 2 options. You either bring people up or you take them down. There's no neutral ground. And if you not just value your wife, but worship her, and you stay in touch with that, then Mayor Baba becomes real.
Yeah.
It's like you learn to love God through loving your wife, your fellow man, and she's the one who's closest to you.
Yeah.
And I did write a poem. You want to read it? Hear it?
Sure. Yeah.
You guys interested? All right. My nickname when I became friends with Bao was Majnun, and he liked calling me that. But then when I became involved with my wife, he said, now your name is Layla Majnun. But to me, she's Layla. Should I tell you about her smile? How her lips form a perfect heart? How every word that passes over them says, I love you, Majnun. And when she touches me, electricity runs up my body. The warmth she radiates says, I love you, Majnun. She takes care of every detail of my well-being. She wants to be able to hold me for many more years, saying, I love you, my dearest madman. And I wait on her as I would God in human form. I cook, I shop, I run the house. I massage her neck and back, saying to her and to God, I love you, only you. At night, when we prepare to sleep, our faces almost touching, I thank God for the gift he has given me, saying, I love you too, my Layla. 21 kisses every day. That was Bao's advice. 21 little thoughtful gestures. 21 word pearls to tell her, I love you, Layla. I love you. When we make love, it's like a gentle stream running in our hearts, poetry of touch, a twisting, spiraling purple cosmic energy which, when she releases, heals the earth, declaring, I love the one in all. How precious are these moments. The tears I have shed have turned to pearls. The storms and drama of my youth are no more. All of nature cries out with joy. I love you. I love you.
Beautiful. Yeah. Wow.
So go for it.
I think that's the part that is very challenging for me sometimes as well. You're talking about the amount of love that one can have for your partner, and the form, being so attached to the form. And I think it's something I brought up with Jeff before. And just you love somebody so much, I love my wife so much, and then I'm looking at her, or you talking about those moments where you're in bed and you're looking and you feel so attached to their form, and then there's the veil thins and you seeing that you're laying there with Baba and he's just loving you through this person. And then at the same time, there's these moments where I guess my mind slips into it, and there's this unbelievable heartbreak that I will have to say goodbye. We will have to leave this present form. And in, we think about it. It's like, of course, we're going to change form, but we'll always be together. But there's something about now, presently, us together in this moment. It's so heartbreaking that it's the castle's made out of sand. It's like I can't hold on to this form, but I can love you so much. And it breaks. It's not even teach. It's a breaking open, and it's uncontrollable. Yeah, I very much have that. I feel that relationship with Adrian, where we got married. It was very much on Baba's terms, and yeah, that for me though is the heartbreak. It's even with my mother, for example, or family, it's hard to imagine or to really be detached from their form. It's just that part wedges itself into the being just completely free, completely like just giving and sharing and spreading the amount of love that is within. There's that fear, or there's that darkness, or whatever, that wedge of like, well, why can't I stay in this form? Why can't I hold on to nothing? It's just all, that part. I don't know. I just really, it colors my reality in a certain way. That's it's just what I came here to learn, I guess, because it's very challenging for me. Very, very challenging.
If Baba said it could bring us to the very door of God realization, and it's a spiritual path, well, it is a difficult path.
Yeah.
And I think I look at it like love as an art form. Like when I learned woodworking, there were certain things that I had to do, otherwise I'd lose my fingers.
Yeah.
Or, and for one, or when I was drawing, there's a challenge of drawing not only what you see, but what you feel. And that takes time. The only way I work is that I imagine being in the presence of God, and I want to express that knowing full well that I'm going to fail at it. And I'm going to fuck up, and I'm going to have to clean up my messes. And also I've learned that I am the source of all my suffering.
Yeah.
Baba wants me happy. And if I'm not happy, shame on me. There's no one to blame.
Yeah.
And that took a while.
That's a big part, is not